So we all love Goodreads for the most part, or at least we're very good at ignoring its flaws. But today I want to talk you through all of the times where Goodreads is just plain wrong, especially about certain books. So Goodreads is first and foremost a social media platform as well as a place to review and rate books. But because it's a social media platform first, often what you get is a popularity contest with a lot of books. You can really see this around the time that the Goodreads Choice Awards come out, but you also see it often with ratings of certain books. Often the books that have absurdly high ratings aren't usually a marker of their quality. They are just a marker of how much hype that book has had and therefore how many people have read it, because usually the more people that have read it, the easier it is to get a very high rating. But this does mean then that there are a lot of books that fly under the radar and they don't get as high ratings, because if they do get a negative review, it will pull down their average rating more significantly than a book that has 100,000 different ratings. But usually on Goodreads, books are considered very, very good books if they have over a 4 out of 5 stars rating on average. Over 4.5 is very rare, and then over that is even more rare still. But today I really want to right some of these wrongs. So I'm going to go through the books that I've read that have the absolute highest ratings and tell you whether or not I think that they're worth it. And I'm also going to do the reverse, which is go through the books that I've read that have the absolute lowest rating and tell you if there's some diamond in the rough somewhere, or if any of these books with the lowest rating are at least worth your time. A little bit of context maybe and why you should trust me in this video is that I've read over 850 books on Goodreads in many different genres. Also, I just have absolutely excellent taste in books, so you should always implicitly trust my opinion and do not question my recommendations. So let's get started, and I'm going to start off with looking at the highest rated books on Goodreads. I've actually already done a video focusing on books that I think are overhyped, but in this video I really want to test if Goodreads is actually good as a way of measuring books or not. So my idea to kind of try and test this out is I'm going to look at the number of books that I've read that are above a 4.5, which, like I said, is very rare on Goodreads, and I'm going to see if I agree if those books should be there. But out of however many books there are that I've read that are above a 4.5, I'm going to say whether I agree, yes or no, and then get some kind of proportionate number to be able to say this is how many I agree that should be in the 4.5 plus category or not. I hope this kind of makes sense, but it's a fun idea in my head, so we're just going to go for it and see if this works. And I'm also going to do the exact same thing with the lowest rated books, and I will show you the books that I'm going to be considering worth it or not as well. So because I'm just using 4.5 as the cutoff for overrated books, we do have some books in series here, we have some that are multiple authors, but I'm just going to take them on an individual basis of whether I think that that individual book deserves to be a 4.5 plus on Goodreads. So let's get started, starting off with counting how many books I've read on Goodreads that are above a 4.5. Okay, so from my count that I've just done on my Goodreads, and I will flip through and show you on the screen here, there are 39 books that I've read on Goodreads that are above a 3.5 rating. And now I'm going to go through and count the proportion that I think deserve to be there or not. Okay, so let's start at the top. We have Brandon Sanderson, Words of Radiance. That deserves to be there. Know My Name by Chanel Miller, one of my favourite books of last year. Definitely deserves it. Throne of Glass, Kingdom of Ash. No, I'm going to say it doesn't. They're a fun series. They don't deserve to be up this high. The Will of the Many. This, I absolutely loved it. And I personally rated it at 3.5. But do I think it fully deserves to be up here? Maybe not. Okay, I'll come back to that one. Brandon Sanderson, yes, one of my favourite series and the first book in that series. Court of Mist and Fury. This can be fun, but I just don't think the quality is up there. So I'm going to say no. Harry Potter, as just a blanket statement on Harry Potter, I know that it's had a huge cultural impact, had a big impact on me also as a child when I read these books, but I am not going to be continuing to platform them, and I also think that a lot of the quality of the writing is actually not that great in hindsight. So on both counts of not wanting to platform these books and also just basically on the quality in my review of the books, I don't think they deserve to be some of the top rated books on Goodreads. Heartstopper, I'm torn for Heartstopper because I know that for a lot of people this would hit them really hard, so I'm not opposed to it being this high, but for my preference I'm not sure it deserves it, but I'm not like mad at that being there. The Divide absolutely deserves it. Again, Stormlight Archive deserves it. Stormlight Archive again deserves it. Throne of Glass already talked about. Crooked Kingdom, Six of Crows. This is very fun, but I do think it's overhyped. So perhaps not. We talked about Heartstopper and The Throne of Glass and Harry Potter, so we're going down. Saga. I really, really love Saga. I'm going to say Saga does deserve to be there because I think that it's actually... I've never read anything like it in terms of a graphic novel, and I was completely addicted to it when I was reading it. So I do think actually maybe that does deserve to be there. Also, Lord of the Rings, I'm happy with that being up there. Infernal Devices, maybe not. That was fun when I read it, but not in terms of some of these other books we're talking about. Dark Mother Earth is actually a surprising one that I did not realise would be this high. I'm actually really pleased to see it this high, but I didn't personally think that it was an amazing, amazing book. I really enjoyed reading it and I think it was very done very well. But like in terms of like one of the best books I've ever read, I don't think it should be there. But then again, like I'm actually very pleased about this. And actually having looked at it a little more, I think that maybe the reason it's up there is because it doesn't have that many ratings and everyone who has read it has rated it incredibly highly. So I guess this is an example of showing you that it can really skew the other way, that, you know, even if you don't have that many ratings and all the ratings are going to be really positive, you can get right up there in terms of, you know, your Goodreads rating. Heartstopper we've talked about. The Kingkiller Chronicle, I love these books, so I do think they deserve to be there. They're some of my favourite books of all time. Then The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House. I think that is incredible and that does deserve to be up there. Braiding Sweetgrass, one of my favourite books of all time. You need to read this book. This deserves to be even higher. But yes, this definitely deserves to be up there. Empire of Pain, maybe not. It was very interesting read, but I don't think it has, like, compared to like The Divide and Braiding Sweetgrass, which are some of the best non-fictions I've ever read, like Empire of Pain was fun, but I'm not sure how much I would say that really deserves to be really, really highly up here. Then we have Game of Thrones, and I really loved Game of Thrones when I read it, but I also read it a few years ago, like actually many years ago now, and I'm not sure how well it would stand up. But also it's one of the things that has really redefined the genre again. So actually I'd probably lean on the side that it does deserve to be up there just because of cultural impact and redefining the genre. Cast was another excellent non-fiction. See, that is something that I think does deserve to be there. Mistborn, absolutely loved it. Demon Copperhead, absolutely loved it. And then I've already talked about the Kingkiller Chronicles. And then Crescent City, no, I don't think so. Lore Olympus, see... And this is a hard one because it's one of my favourite. Like, I rated this 5 stars. I absolutely love this book. Do I think it deserves to be up here? Maybe not. Even though for me, personally, it's a 5-star read. It's not going to be a universal 5-star read. And this is like Lore Olympus number 4, which is why it's up there so high. Because obviously, as we can see with a lot of this list, later on, books in a series are going to be rated really highly because people who didn't like the first book aren't going to carry on and read the 7th book in a series. So you're only going to be left with people who are usually fans of that series. Next up, As Long as Lemon Trees Grow, a very, very beautiful book. I don't know, I've still got slightly mixed feelings or a slight reservation about this book and just the way that it was written. So that's another one that I'm like, my personal preference is probably lower than the general consensus that this should be higher, so maybe I'll leave it higher because I'm trying to like think about this in the sense of, do these books deserve the hype that they get? And in a lot of ways then this one does deserve the hype. I don't know, yeah, I'll leave it there. Emily Wilde, no wait, sorry, I missed one. Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This probably doesn't. I liked The Martian better. Project Hail Mary was good, but like, was it the best sci-fi I've ever read? No. That is one that's definitely hyped. I did like it though. Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. Yeah, absolutely loved it. The best cozy fantasy that I've ever read. I absolutely adored it. And then there is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, which I also absolutely loved. So actually, this is a lot more positive than I think. I'm going to count up now the ones that I said yes to and the ones that I said no to and see what my ratio is for agreeing with the Goodreads top rated. Okay, so I've just counted up. I think I miscounted when I said 39 were above a 4.5. There was actually 41 that were above a 4.5, and I've just counted up, and the number that I agreed with that should be there is 21. So we are about half. So just over half I agree with that should be there, but a 50-50 chance that one of the most hyped books deserves to be there or not, in my opinion. is not really enough for me. I'd look for like a 75% chance, with a few stragglers getting in there. So I'm going to still maintain my hypothesis that Goodreads is wrong most of the time, or like 50% of the time, which is almost like most. I'm not a mathematician, okay? I never said I was. But next up, I am very interested to look at the other side of the coin and look at all of the books that are rated very low and basically see what do I think deserves to be that low. So because we looked at about 40 books at the top, I'm going to look for a roughly the same number down below and see if there's a nice even cutoff point for a rating as well. Okay, so I've just scanned my way, like looking at the types of books that I have right at the bottom, and there's a lot less series, so I will not probably have time in this video to go through 41 different books. So instead I'm going to cut off at the 3.5 mark. So anything below a 3.5, because honestly it's very rare that you get stuff in the twos. It's usually even like some of the worst rated books are still above 3. So I'm going to do between 3 and 3.5 because my lowest one I think starts at 3.04. So let's get the list up and go through and see what my reactions are. I haven't properly looked at this list. I just know where we're going to cut off. So this is going to be fun. So the first book that we are looking at, for some reason this is sorting badly, so I'm just ignoring that at the top. But the first book that we're actually looking at is The Future by Adam Thirlwell. I really didn't like this book. It was very disappointing to me, but I am actually very shocked to see it that low. This is also a relatively new release, so I think that it's one of those books where any ratings are going to really kind of change the number significantly. But I am shocked that it's that low, but I kind of do agree that it should be pretty low. I don't really know anyone who enjoyed this very much, and I certainly did not enjoy it myself. Next up is Sister Noon, which I agree with. It was really bad and I gave it 1 star. Just the most boring drudgery of a book. I really did not like Sister Noon. So next up we have Nietzsche for Beginners. This was a terrible non-fiction. I picked it up because I just really wanted to know a little bit more about Nietzsche because I realised I didn't know anything about him, and it was so badly done. It was like incomprehensible, even though it's called Nietzsche for Beginners. And I don't think I came away knowing much more than I did before I went in. I should have just read the Wikipedia page for Nietzsche. So that does deserve to be that low. I might actually move that down to 1 star because I gave it 2. Next up, Confessions of a Sociopath. This is one of those airport books I just picked up in a random airport or a train station or something, and I read it and it was literally terrible. Really, really badly written. So next up is How to Date Men When You Hate Men, which is a joke, kind of funny gift that I got, but I did end up reading it because if I get given a book, even if it's a joke, I will always still pick up that book and read it. This turned out not to be great. The title was kind of the best part about it. So next up, Exciting Times. I really hated this book. I did not like it at all. It was a very badly done copy of Sally Rooney books, in my opinion. Then there is The Heavens. So this one's an interesting one, and I need to double check this, but I think that the author of this book has kind of gotten into some controversy, so maybe that is also reflecting the rating. But the actual book itself, when I read it, I thought it was fine. Although now looking back, I don't think I would liked it as much now. There's a certain device that happens in this book that I've really come to hate, but I think back when I did read it, I didn't hate it as much. But if I read it now, I'd probably rate it a lot lower. Her Fearful Symmetry. I really, really hated this book too. Really, really hated it. I gave it 1 star. And I was really surprised about this because this author wrote Time Traveler's Wife, which I really loved, but I hated this book. Lena Dunham's book, I don't know. I didn't even like that when I read it in 2016. Days and Days and Days is a recent read for me. This was just okay. I'm not sure this deserves to be all the way at the bottom, because I do think that this book would really find its audience. It's just, it wasn't me. It's based on kind of a celebrity who's very toxic and kind of very messy. I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki. I didn't like this. I didn't enjoy this book, but maybe some people would, but I do think it probably deserves to be down here. Boy Snowbird. I can't remember much about this. I read it in 2016 and I rated it 1 star. I'm just going to trust past me that I was correct. The Night House I read last year and I hated it. absolutely hated it, and I stand by my 1-star review, and I'm actually glad that this is so low. I'll Eat When I'm Dead, another one that I read absolutely years ago. Really don't remember what that was about. I gave it 2 stars. I'm just gonna have to trust it because I have absolutely no memory of this book. Vinegar Girl is a retelling, I think, of The Taming of the Shrew, which is all I basically remember about it. Another one, yeah, I read this in 2017 and don't have much memory about it. I rated it 3 stars, so I don't know, probably does deserve to be there. Lullaby, I rated 4 stars. I can't remember anything. My camera died, and then I just realised I have like a makeup smudge on my top throughout this whole video. So you're just going to have to pretend that you did not see that, and that you will continue not to see it because I'm not changing. We're very low tech here, okay? It's low tech, it's easy, it's laid back. We don't have to look perfect on camera. Anyway, I think before my camera died, I was talking about, I don't know why I'm saying camera, I'm filming this on my iPhone, as evidence of the low techness of this video. I was talking about Lullaby. I don't think that belongs to be at the very bottom of the Goodreads list because it was, to me, a completely fine book. I think it was all right. It was just a thriller, you know, it was fine. Next one, a weird one, Good Man Jesus and the Scoundrel Christ. I don't know why I read this. This was just like one of those books I randomly pick up in my life. And it's got a 3.41, which is pretty low for a Philip Pullman book. He wrote the Northern Lights, His Dark Materials kind of series, which I loved. I gave this 3 stars. I don't think it belongs to be that low. It was kind of an interesting idea, even if it didn't work for me. It's basically about imagining Jesus and Christ as 2 different people, 2 brothers. Interestingly, the Atlas Complex is 3.27. Wait, why are these not in order? What the hell? Is that the only one that are out of order? Yeah, that's the only one. It's out of order completely. 3.27 is so low. What's it doing up here with the 3.4s? Oh my god, have I uncovered a conspiracy theory here? Why is that so high? Like, in the list, it's ranked by average rating. It should be much lower. That's interesting. Also, this has only been out a few days, and I rated it 1 star, and I absolutely hated it. So if you can watch my vlog, I'll tag it here somewhere, about when I read this book. I literally hated it, and I'm not an Olivia Blake hater because I loved the Atlas 6, but this was just such a disappointment, like such a bad ending to a series that could have been really good. So I do think that probably belongs to be there because I gave it 1 star. Celestial Bodies, though, does not belong down this low. I think that is like an unfair rating for a very good and well thought out book. Didn't hit personally for me, but it's still a well done book. I'm thinking maybe this might have suffered from translation issues, which is what a couple of people said when I posted my review. So, but I don't think that belongs down there. Heart of Darkness is a weird one. I don't know how I feel about this book. I gave it 2 stars. I don't know. Maybe a lot of other people don't like it as well. Like I thought this is more well loved than it was, to be honest. Then we also have The Scarlet Letter. I can't say I enjoyed this, but it's one of the books that I'm glad that I've read because it's just so referenced constantly. And so I'm glad I've read it, but I did not enjoy reading it. But I don't think it belongs at the bottom of this list. The Black Lake, I don't think that belongs down here either. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't like one of my favourite books, but by no means was it kind of bad either. Like, I think that probably deserves to be a bit higher. The Discomfort of Evening, that one has absolutely traumatized me. I literally hated that book. Gave it 1 star. 1 star. And honestly, I kind of think it doesn't really belong there because it was a well done book. And like for some people that is their type of book. Like if you like really weird, really uncomfortable books, you probably will love this, and it's very well done. And I actually appreciated the themes it was trying to cover. My own personal enjoyment means it was a 1 star, but like I could really see why people might rate this very highly, if you know what I mean. Next up, I'm a Fan, which I gave 4 stars. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I do think this one is a bit hit and miss with people. I think if you really relate to some of what the main character's going through, then this is going to hit you really well. And I do think it's well written. I just didn't relate to her, and I didn't like her, didn't like the situation. So for that reason, I didn't love it, but I don't think it deserves to be this low down. I mean, I gave it 4 stars when I read it last year. Next up, we have a book that I read. It says here I read it in 2018. I definitely did it. I just remembered that I had read this as a child. and it's such a strange book, and I think that it doesn't deserve to be this low either. It's one of those ones that, like, anything you read as a child, I think is going to have kind of a glow of, like, the fact that you were young and that you managed to read a whole book, and that, like, you know, you haven't read that much, so it's going to stand out strongly kind of in your estimations. But I honestly think, yeah, I don't think that deserves to be down there. I really love this book. It's kind of about this, I mean, I still vaguely remember it, and I read it so many years ago. It's about this girl who gets obsessed with this lost explorer who was lost in the Arctic, I think, or the Antarctic. I think maybe I can't remember which one, but basically they were lost, and she becomes very obsessed, and then I think she gets the chance to go on her own kind of exploration with someone in her family. And it's really creepy and it's kind of weird, and I think it was very, very good. Pure Colour definitely doesn't belong this low. I really love Pure Colour. It's such a strange little book, and I think that's probably why it's so low rated, because it's odd. It's very, very strange. Like, a lot of the book is from the perspective of a woman who's been transformed into a leaf. So if that sounds like something you're into, pick up Pure Colour, because it's a fun ride. A very beautiful, very strange book. Crema, is that how you say that? Crema? I gave this 4 stars. Actually, looking at this, I'm going to rate that lower. I don't think I love this that much. I think it doesn't really deserve to be one of the lowest, but I don't know, actually a 3.5, like, as we're getting up to a 3.5 now, that kind of is where I'd rate it, probably a 3.5 or a 3. So maybe I would say I do agree with this. Next up, Lady Chatterley's Lover. I didn't realise this would be so low. I don't know. I think that with some classics, they just hit for you or they don't, and clearly this one hasn't hit that for that many people. I personally quite liked it, and I think I would rate it higher. So next up, Shades of Milk and Honey. I do not remember reading this, and I didn't even read it. Oh, well, I read it in 2016. That kind of makes sense. I remember this is like a historical fiction, and it's like a historical fiction romance fantasy, I think. But I gave it 2 stars back then, so I think that it probably does deserve to be down here. Okay, so that is the last one. If we are looking just at the 3.5 cutoff point for worst rated books, that was a very mixed bag. So now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to count up how many I agreed should be there and how many I disagreed should be higher rated. And we will see kind of the ratio of what I agree with for Goodreads. Somehow I counted wrong again. But I've put it in a spreadsheet now, so I think I got it right. I mean, I could have just definitely counted wrong again. But out of the 30 books that were below a 3.5 rating, I agreed with exactly half again, which is very, very strange result to be exactly like 50-50 on both the overrated and the underrated. So I'm going to maybe retitle this video as Goodreads is wrong 50% of the time, because that's exactly the results of this investigation that we've done together. So that was actually really fun to do. I don't know if this video is going to make sense as a concept to anyone, but I don't know. I just think it's fun to look and test your taste against popular ratings on Goodreads. So let me know if you found this interesting. Let me know if you strongly disagree with any of my hot takes, because I would love to know. Please remember to like and comment and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!